Dr. Jack Griffin, a brilliant but obsessive scientist, discovers the secret to invisibility through a dangerous experiment. Consumed by the power of his discovery, he becomes unhinged, leaving chaos and terror in his wake. As he spirals deeper into madness, Griffin finds himself trapped between the thrill and the horror it unleashes as he becomes the Invisible Man.
Hey, welcome back to Movie Friends. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Seth.
And today we're talking about The Invisible Man from 1933. Directed by James Whale. Screenplay by R.C. Sheriff. Cinematography by Arthur Edison. Composed by Heinz Rohmheld. Edited by Ted J. Kent. Special effects by John P. Fulton. Starring Claude Rains, William Harrigan, Henry Travers, Gloria Stuart, Una O'Connor, and Forrester Harvey. Hello, Seth.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. You're looking less green today.
I am looking less green. In fact, I might be looking less of anything. I'm invisible.
Quite invisible.
Yes. But just so that you can see me so we can have this conversation, I have covered my face in bandages.
Yes, and you wore clothing,
yes.
So I'm not just staring at the empty room of what it would seem.
That's right. That's right.
I love it. It looks, the way you wrapped your face looks like you are grinning. You literally made a smile. I cannot wait for you to see it once you can see now.
I can see now. Yes. I originally had not left myself eye holes, and Michelle very wisely said, "Why don't you cut yourself some eye holes?" So I can see now.
Yeah.
Invisible Man.
Invisible Man. You have truly set the bar now. You need to come every week dressed in costume outside of October. This is what I expect now.
No, this is strictly an October thing.
No. This is what I'm used to now. So,
yeah. Can't wait to see what our patron voted episode is next week that I'll have to dress up as.
Yeah, I know. This is hard because I'm someone who very much reacts off of people's emotions on their face, and there's nothing coming from you. So I feel like I might struggle this week with this. Yeah.
Well, just imagine being me and having to sneeze this whole time.
I heard you sniffling over there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have no emails, which is disappointing.
Terrible.
What the heck, guys? Come on. No love for us this week.
We've said it before, but it's quite funny how demanding we are.
Are we demanding, or we just want participation?
We do just want participation. Yeah, that's true. Speaking of participation, Michelle, you've been editing not just sound this week, but you've been editing something exciting.
Our live show is pretty much complete, the video version.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Are you going to put video editor on your LinkedIn?
I am not. No.
Okay.
I am not going to do that. But Seth, you at this point, when this episode comes out, you will have watched it, and I think you will have enjoyed it.
I definitely, I can't wait. I'm excited because we did the show, and so I wasn't able to see it.
Yeah.
And now you've done the editing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I haven't seen any of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be very exciting to see it as like a whole presented package.
Yeah. And I can't wait to share it with our listeners too.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. Well, I guess we should write down our ratings. I don't even want to say anything about this movie until we write down our ratings and get them settled in.
Smart idea. Let's do that.
Okay. If you're new to the show, before Seth and I discuss the movie for the day, we try to guess each other's ratings. So we're going to write them down from 1 to 5. I'm going to see what Seth would... I'm going to think about what I think Seth would rate The Invisible Man.
I feel like I've been going very conservative with these.
You have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
Okay. I am done. I'm locked in.
I'm also locked in. So this is my pick for the month. And what's interesting about this is usually my pick for the month is a movie that I've loved that I can bring to the table, but I've actually never seen this one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the only reason I chose it was because I knew Una O'Connor was in it. That's the only reason.
That's
I knew
right.
nothing about this.
Yes, which is very exciting. And I was very excited to talk about her again
Yeah.
for the third time
I know.
in 2 months.
I know.
Yes, we started out with Robin Hood,
Yep.
The Adventures of Robin Hood.
Yep.
And You Fell in Love.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bride of Frankenstein. And now here.
Yeah. And what's also funny is like I completely disregarded Claude.
Yes, right.
Like
Exactly. We just spoke about
completely
him. Yep.
didn't
Well,
even think about him.
in all fairness, this is a great performance, great voice performance, but you don't see him. So
That's true.
yeah.
That's true.
Just to clarify, if you guys haven't seen The Adventures of Robin Hood, Claude Rains plays Prince John in that movie, the bad guy.
Yeah.
And a very different type of bad guy than this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely different. Before we get into actual movie discussion, I want to know when you first saw this. What were your feelings when you first watched it? How many times have you seen it?
Got it. Yeah. So I had never really seen the classic Universal monster movies. And so I think it was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to watch all of them. And then I watched this and The Mummy and The Wolfman and The Frankensteins and everything, The Old Dark House, which is another one that James Whale did.
Yeah.
And of all of the Universal monster movies, this one is my favorite.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know that it's the best.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
But I just enjoy this one a lot. I think it's really funny. And
yeah.
I really love how they do the effects in 1933.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you read the novel that was based off of H.G. Wells' novel?
When I was a kid, I read like a shortened version of
Really?
The Invisible Man. Yeah, but I've never read the actual one.
I don't know if you've done research on this one. And I'm so new to the Universal Monster world. I mean, this is now my fourth movie, right? In this world. But there's so much like pre-production drama, which I'm not gonna like touch upon that much because I really just want to focus on the movie and like my experience about watching it. But the fact that like this was thought of 2 years prior, there were different filmmakers attached to it, different actors attached to it, and then ultimately landed on Whale and Sheriff and Claude. But I sat down to watch this movie on Saturday. And truth be told, I was actually going to record a rewatch thought. And I was going to like, since I'm hosting this week, I was like, it'd be funny if I like cued to myself in the past and then we cued to myself in the future. But I had no voice. I got my voice back pretty much. Today is like the first full day I got my voice back.
The inaudible woman.
I know. So sit down to watch this. And I am so delightfully like happy and cheerful and in awe and laughing and when the movie ended, I clapped.
Wow. Wowie zowie.
I clapped, Seth. I haven't been this excited about a movie in a really, really, really long time.
Great. Wow.
So much so that the next day I made Aunt watch it with me all over again.
And you watched the whole thing?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, this is a great 72 minutes? Something like that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, come on. You got an hour. This is essentially a long episode of a TV show.
I know. And like compared to the other films that we've covered, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, and Creature from the Black Lagoon, this one I feel is a full completed story.
Interesting. Okay.
Because the ending is an ending.
It's it's the same thing as all of the Universal movies, which is, okay, he's dead. Goodbye.
Yeah, but it makes sense for this one. Like this,
Yeah.
okay, like Claude Rains' Jack is so maniacal and so evil, like the most evil out of everyone we've covered
Yeah.
so far. I mean, he kills like over 120 people in 70 minutes that we
Yep.
see. Goes completely insane, and then they catch him in the end and he dies. So to me, I'm like, oh, this is like a good, like completed story.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you want to jump to the end, but
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm so like, the doctor is like, yeah, as he dies, the effects of the medicine will wear off. And I'm like, why? That's not how medicine works. Like, what do you mean? Like,
You
and
wanted more
then,
explanation of the
no,
monocaine
I don't
wearing off?
necessarily want more, but, and I don't think it's a bad ending.
Yeah.
It happens so quickly. Like, he just dies and then he's not invisible anymore.
Yeah, I guess you can make that argument for a lot of this film. I mean, when we open the film and Jack is traveling and he's just looking for a room, right?
Mhm.
So he can have peace and quiet to work on this experiment that he's been working on. We don't really see anything before that. Like we learn as it goes on that he's been working on this for 5 years and then it finally works that he went invisible, but now he's trying to make it back to visibility.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I guess we could have had more of setup, but like I don't know, I'm okay with just jumping right into this and I'm okay
Yeah. Yeah.
with learning how it feels to be invisible and the stuff that they do address that when we get to the end, I'm kind of okay with them being like the monocaine wears off and then the body will appear. I
Yeah.
like it. I'm totally I don't know, I guess I'm biased now because I now love this movie. This truly has become like one of the favorites now.
Wow.
I don't know where it is on my list that I
The
never
top 10,
completed.
Michelle. I
And I
know
know
you gave a big promise
not really.
that
I
you
feel
were
like I
going to
was forced
do.
into that.
Well,
Sean
maybe.
Shank, I'm talking straight to you. I know you're asking for it, but
What was it supposed to be, a 50 favorite movie list?
I thought it was like even 25 is
It might
less
have
than
been
that.
top 25 movies, but this is
This
possibly
is,
now in there.
yeah. Oh, this is 100% in there. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I love the opening. To me, it doesn't make a ton of sense. Like, I might be coming at this with a lot more questions than
Okay.
statements this
Sure.
episode, but all of my questions aren't to like uh disprove or whatever the Invisible Man. I think that this movie is awesome,
Yeah.
but like opening the door, standing there in the snow and silencing the tavern, it's such a great movie moment, right?
Hmm.
That you see over and over again. But like, you're a scientist, you have your own laboratory, you turn invisible, why are you leaving? Like,
Mm,
why are you like running this chemistry shop out of like the Lion's Head Tavern spare room, and not just like, if someone comes looking for you, I don't know, be invisible? Like, if
yeah.
Kent comes looking, just stand against the wall and don't talk?
Yeah. I mean, we know that he was working under Cranley, right? Dr. Cranley.
Yeah. Yep.
And Cranley knew that Griffin was working on his own experiment on his free time.
Yes.
And so I guess to the point where he just started to become more and more invisible, he's like, I don't want to be seen until I really figure this out.
Well, he's looking for a remedy
Well, right.
because he wants to be
So
able to control it. Yeah.
right. So he doesn't want anyone else involved until he can truly like have his own answer.
Right. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, you can still say in the note, because he tells them in the note, hey, I'm leaving. I won't be around for a long time.
Right.
He sends them a note that says that. Just lie. Just be in your own laboratory doing your experiments. It just becomes so much more dangerous and so much more
Mm.
precarious for him to be like in the bar with Una O'Connor trying to save his life.
Yeah, I mean, when he first walks into the Lion's Head, the
Yeah.
tavern, and he's like, "I need a room with a fire," and
Mhm.
Jenny's like, "We don't have that in the winter."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he's like, "Well, I want one." She's like, "I guess okay, fine, we'll make you up one." Like real quick.
Just immediately like, okay.
And and we don't even blink an eye. Like the townspeople are looking because they're like, "Oh, this man looks suspicious," coming up with ideas of like, "Oh, he maybe got hit while he
Well, the
was in
man looks
prison."
like me right now. This guy
Right.
walks in.
Yes, but she does make up the room for him and she's making the fire and he says, "I don't want to be disturbed." And so my question to you is if you can remember the first time you watched this and we see him enter, unless you knew, because my thoughts were this man has been badly burned
Mhm. Mhm.
and he feels invisible to the world. I actually did not think he was actually invisible, like at
Wow.
all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, at all.
Wow.
I thought he was just a burn victim.
Okay.
And so then like Jenny, who played by Una, is treating him with respect, but also not trying to look to make him feel awkward. And of course, the tavern folk are,
Yeah.
coming up with speculations of who he could be. But I truly thought he was not invisible. Did you know he was invisible? Is this a silly question?
No, I mean, I knew, like I said, I was familiar with it when I was a kid, and so going into it,
Right, because you read the
I knew.
novel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's certain, like, when you watch a lot of movies, there's certain things that just get shared around a lot,
Yeah.
and like, him like taking his bandages off. Like, I had seen that prior to actually watching the movie.
Okay. See, I'm
Yeah.
glad I didn't. I
Yeah, I mean, that's
think, yeah,
amazing.
like I said, went truly into this not knowing a thing. And so I was like, oh, maybe he's very badly burned,
Hmm.
and because of that, he's kind of cold and
Hmm.
wants to be left alone. And
Yeah.
then when we realized that, no, he's actually invisible, I squealed.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how special is that to watch a movie like this and not know he's
That's
actually
what I say. That's
invisible?
amazing. That's like a once in a lifetime
I know.
experience right there. So when
I
he's
know.
like taking off all of his
Oh my
bandages,
I lost it.
yeah,
I kept pausing my TV and I was talking to Krista a little bit and I was sending her screenshots and be like, I am so happy right now.
yeah.
I couldn't believe it. And like I was just watching and I wish somebody was with me, but no one was. I just had to have Aunt watch it with me the next day. But I was just like in
What did
awe.
Anthony think?
He thought it was great. He thought it was
Yeah.
great. I was like, is this not like the best thing you've seen in like a really long time?
All of the townspeople play a funny role in
Yeah.
this movie
Yeah.
where like they're speculating about who he is, and then later on he's messing with them as he's doing his silly little pranks as he
Yeah.
leaves the lion's head. And then we get like a quick little 2-person montage of him of them like calling in to the police, giving tips on how to find him. It's funny to see like uh how, I guess, how like the Invisible Man is like affecting the community at large, and for the most part it's pretty comical.
It is comical. And I also find it funny that the sheriff is just thinks that they're drunk.
Yeah. Oh, the sheriff is like ready to come down on them
Yeah.
for like trying to pull a prank. And then one of the radio, Kent is listening to the radio and they're like, a whole town is under mass delusion because they believe that there's an invisible man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Pretty
okay, you get a call from a tavern that there's an invisible man. I mean, how are you going to react?
sure. Oh, sure. Of course. I mean, when the constable, I don't know,
Yeah.
the Bobby, the
Mm-hmm.
Bobby as they are known,
Mm-hmm.
uh, when they catch him and he comes upstairs and Jack takes off his bandages and then they go back downstairs. He just says to them so matter of factly, like, well, he's invisible. And if he gets the rest of those clothes off, we'll never be able to find him in 1,000 years. They've just accepted it, like,
Right.
right off the. And I mean, what else can you do in the face of an invisible man? But
Right.
I just that was very funny to me. I feel like Claude's performance in this and like the things that he's saying and doing and thinking don't quite match like anyone else in the movie. Like it doesn't feel like anyone else is taking it like as seriously, and especially Flora. And I don't know how you feel about Flora, but
I want to put a pin in Flora for a
sure,
second
sure.
because just to go off of what you were saying about Claude, learning his background and the fact that this was his first talkie, his other film was a
Crazy.
silent film.
Yes.
He was a stage actor and he almost quit acting, and then he got hired based off of his voice for
Mm-hmm.
this. And so to go from nothing to this and then your face isn't revealed until the last shot when you're dead.
Yep.
I mean, clap. Like again, that's
Amazing.
another thing I
Really
love
amazing.
about this so
Yes.
much. Okay, so Flora.
Well, so
Oh yeah,
we
go
might as
ahead.
well talk about Claude, but
Yeah, we
like,
could talk about Claude. Sure.
you know, not a. They originally wanted Boris Karloff,
Yep.
for this,
Yep.
and he wants more money and da, 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 da. Okay. They're like, we're gonna go with this kid basically,
Yeah.
and Karloff is a more imposing kind of a figure, where Claude Rains is like a shorter dude, not very physically imposing, but that voice that he's doing, and perhaps his kind of smaller-ish body, like it just makes for such a like a loose cannon, like when he's explaining like all the things that he can do, he I don't even want to say what he says that he can do, but he's just like so immediately jumping to like, I'll rule the world by just like killing people and I can do whatever I want because I'm invisible.
I can rape whoever. That
Yes.
line, really.
Yeah, well,
I was
that's what
like,
I was saying. Yeah.
oh my God.
Right. And so it's like, oh, you're not like just a guy who became invisible and now the world's against you. Like truly, and we find out it's because of the monocaine, right? So like the monocaine has like driven him insane. And so it's such a different kind of monster than what we've
Yes.
talked about. And we mentioned in the last episode how it's always the people in these movies that are the bad ones and their response to, the monster. In this one, he is a person who becomes a monster, but not because of being invisible. It's because of like the things that he does once he has the power. And again, we can blame it on the monocaine, but yeah, it's amazing, and he's so good in this. The voice is so good. Mark Hamill, who voices the Joker in
Yeah.
Batman the Animated Series, based his voice off of Claude Rains in The Invisible Man.
Yeah, I read that. I was
Yeah.
like, I mean, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yes. And that's another like great iconic voice performance. And once you know that, it's hard to kind of differentiate. Obviously you can tell the difference between the two of them, but it's just like a good through line, basically 60 years apart of like an insane a person who's like lost their mind.
Yeah. And the way he delivers the cadence, the giggles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It almost sounds like Mickey Mouse. Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's so evil, but
Mm-hmm.
because it's almost only hearing it and then seeing movement of books and
Yeah.
clothing
Yeah.
makes it less scary. But when you think about it, I mean, visually less scary. There's no gore and there's no blood but really this is like the scariest scenario ever. An
Yeah.
invisible person who is going insane, who is out to kill and take over and sneak up on you and just because they can and they have all the power.
Yeah.
That's extremely scary.
Yeah. Yeah. So on that note, I wanted to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Which is, if you could have a superpower
Mm-hmm.
and the choices are flying or invisibility, Which one are you picking?
So I used to say invisibility,
Yeah.
but now I don't know how I feel about that. And I don't know how I would use it.
Yeah.
Because as
I'm
I've
in the
got,
same exact boat.
right? Like as I've gotten older, I really respect privacy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with not seeing things. Now, however, there's definitely certain situations where I love to be a fly on the wall. And
Yeah.
so I like to think that I would have a moral compass around how I use my invisibility. But would I go mad from that power?
Yeah.
Would I abuse it?
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I like that question because I think that flight and invisibility both have to do with exploration.
Hmm.
So you think, well, I can fly. Oh, I could go anywhere. And then, oh, I'm invisible. I can go anywhere. And I suppose as an invisible person, you could like, I don't know, like drop money into people's pockets without them knowing. You know,
Like
like
do good.
I guess you could do good as an invisible person, but I feel like, and it might just be me, but I feel like everything that you could do as an invisible person is bad.
Yeah, because it's not known.
Yeah, and it's like sneaking around and
Yeah.
like thievery and basically, right? Like,
And whenever I think about invisibility, and I'm trying to think of like other characters in media, I never think of them of being naked, right? I always think of them being fully clothed and then
mhm,
they go invisible. And so, like in this scenario of what you were pitching to me, I just picture I would have the ability to go invisible, and that includes my clothing.
right?
And so I
Yeah.
find it super interesting that in this story, no, when you go invisible, you are fully naked.
Oh yeah, he's
And so
naked.
right. And I love that because it's constantly brought up of how cold he is.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
love how we learn he can only work on clear sunny days. Rain and fog and snow is an issue because it would outline him. How about the fact that he has to wait an hour after he eats because you could see the
Yeah.
food?
Yeah.
I'm obsessed. Thank
It,
you for giving us this. Thank you so much.
it's so funny how, when he's talking, he's like, I'll rule the world. Also, Kent, can you unlock this door? let me in.
Put a carpet down in the car. It gets cold out
Mm-hmm.
here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Grab a warm carpet. Also, is it raining out? Oh, I can't go.
Right.
Like he's
Right.
so in his mind, like, I am the all powerful invisible man. But also like I just kind of I'm very dainty now.
Yeah.
I
Do you think it was the monocaine? Do you
Yeah.
think that just really, you don't think he was a little sick to begin with and this just
Well,
elevated it? He's a
I
mad
think
scientist though, right?
I think in everything, I think in life, the truth is that when you gain power, you realize kind of who you are.
Mm.
And, money and power can corrupt you, but they can also bring out the corruptible parts of you, I suppose.
Hmm.
So there had to be something there. Kent talks about no real scientist would have a locked cabinet. No locked, you know what I mean? Like science is not about um doing experiments that are unethical. And they talk about what their work is doing is like working in like food preservation, right?
Yeah.
And he's basically like, it's not glorious, but it helps save lives and helps people from being sick. And so I think through that, and like Kent is such a fuddy-duddy, like, he's like creeping on Flora. And so for us as the audience, he's nothing in comparison with Jack in terms of like charisma. And so I think that like if you compare the two of them, yeah, Jack definitely has I don't think sinister to the point of what he is when he's the Invisible Man, but I think that he definitely has some desires to not just work in food
He
preservation,
wants
and
more.
he wants more. Um, so it's hard to say, but I'm in the camp of blaming it on the monocaine. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm
have a
so
question for you, which
yeah.
is, does this does this magical serum give him super strength? Because at one point towards the end, he is spinning around a fully grown police officer as if it's like a little child.
I love that scene. Yeah, I don't know. He does,
And then like he
so
throws
much.
another police officer, or it might be the same one, but like he throws him 20 feet.
Yeah, he like gains some super strength.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Like he climbs out the second story window, no problem. And I wish that they would have gone into that just like a little bit to be like, oh, like, you know, if he just mentioned like, I feel stronger than I've ever felt before. And, you know, maybe he busts down a door instead of waiting for it to be unlocked.
Right.
But yeah,
right.
like it does get to be like something, again, Claude Rains, not a big dude.
Yeah, I
Something's
mean,
a
and when
little-
we see him come to, I mean, he looks like a small person.
Yeah. Now, we talked about Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah.
Last October.
Yep.
When we did Franktober.
Yeah.
And this time around, I was wondering if Burton was using that final shot of Jack as the inspiration for Edward before the scientist dies, basically, because he's got the hair is like a little tousled, but it's like the black, and he looks very pale.
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah. And like Burton, you know, is a huge fan of old classic Hollywood movies.
Yeah. Good thought.
Yeah. But you see him and you're like, oh, you're handsome.
Very handsome.
Yeah. You're not like a freaky little dude.
No.
This whole time.
No. Your hair looks very nice as we're fading into death.
Which maybe explains why Flora is so into him through this whole movie.
Okay, so let's go back to Flora. She serves no purpose. She's fine. She's fine, Claudia.
Yeah.
I mean, Gloria. Sorry. Gloria Stuart. She's doing the love interest, but like there's no need for you. And she's playing very exaggerated well, I guess. I don't know. I didn't care for her. She did nothing for me.
Well, you know what? It was a bummer coming off of Kay last week when we talked about the creature from the Black Lagoon and how Kay is such like a full character, and she is the character who's doing the screaming and the yelling and the grasping of the face. But beyond that, she's got a lot of other stuff to do, and she's in a lot of the movie. In this, Flora feels like all of the types of old female characters that we don't super care for. Yeah. And that she's very one note. All of her interest and attention is just towards Jack. She has no personhood in this movie outside of like, where's Jack? I'm scared for him. I need to see him. No, I need to go to him. And like, even after he kills like 100 people on a train, she's still like at his bedside, like, oh, Jack.
Wow. It's the heart wants what it wants, right?
Yeah. And I guess she's also team the monocaine is driving him mad.
Yeah, I mean, I think once that comes to light, I think they all have realized that, except for Kemp, who is, well, poor Kemp, really being held hostage. But like, I love when Jack enters Kemp's house and just
great.
Freaks him out and sits by the fire and is like, "You're gonna be my partner."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I need someone who's in the flesh.
Is it Kemp or Kent? Because I've been saying Kent.
Kemp.
Oh, I've been saying Kent. Oops.
That's okay. I mean, I'll double check. Imagine if I was wrong. Well,
imagine if we were both wrong.
And it's like,
Seymour.
It's Seymour.
Seymour.
We really should do Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah, it's Dr. Arthur Kemp.
Nice.
Kemp.
Okay, yeah. I would love to do Little Shop of Horrors sometime.
I love it. I love that.
We need
story.
another musical month, I think.
Well, the patrons have been wanting that, or one of them wants it. Mike wants
Well,
like
we'll see.
sequels. Yeah. Anyway,
But that's great. Yes. And he's just like, you're going to be my partner. I'm going to go sleep in this other room. Please don't stab me while I'm sleeping. And then when I wake up, we're going to kill people. And
yep.
it's just going to be chaos.
Yeah. And if you tell anybody, I'll kill you.
Right. Yeah. I don't know what. I mean, I guess I know what his end game is because he does kind of come back to himself when Flora and him meet at Kemp's house.
Yeah.
And then the more he talks, he just gets crazier and crazier by the end of that meeting. But he's like, imagine, we'll sell it to a government and they'll have an invisible army and they'll bid on it. Thousands, even millions. And I'm like, probably even back then, you might be into billions at that point. But
yeah,
like,
I mean,
what's the end game here?
well, what did you even think of him saying, like, I did this because I wanted to do something tremendous for you? That's what he said to her. I wanted to do something tremendous for you. I did this for you. And it's like, well, no, I don't think you
Yeah,
did this
I
for
don't buy
her.
that.
You love
I
her. And I think you
yeah,
wanted to like be proud of your work to show to someone you love, but you've also
yeah.
been working on this for 5 years.
Well, I mean, look, you're a scientist and you have a possibility of creating a serum that makes people invisible. Of course, you're going to go after that,
Of
like,
course.
and so
Of
in his
course.
mind, perhaps he's like, this will be my big break and then we can get married and
Right.
I won't have to work for your dad. And so, like, in his way, I mean, and I think that's the story of all delusional men is they say that they're doing it for their family or they say they're doing it
Sure.
for one thing, but really you're kind of doing it for yourself. And if your family benefits from it,
That great.
great,
Yeah.
but no one's asking you. Flora isn't asking you to do any of this stuff, but I don't want to keep comparing Jack to Joker, but he does fit into that role that I think people love of like just someone who doesn't care about, and he's just like, I'm just gonna do crazy stuff for my own enjoyment because I think it's neat. I think it's funny to strangle people and to like go into a bank and throw the money everywhere and like knock off like when he sees the old man he's like, hello grandfather, how are you, and just like throws his hat in the water.
He knocks over the baby carriage.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that baby carriage. I mean, I don't have a lot to say about the baby carriage, but at that point I'm like, wow, this is like evil.
Yeah. Because at first he does choke Travers.
Yeah,
And right. But I'm saying
you
he
know.
does that. And then he's like running around. He's Winnie the Poohing in the shirt
Yeah.
in his room. And then he runs out and he takes the bicycle and he, puts the broom, like hits a broom in someone's face, says, here's a hairbrush, George
So
Henry.
bad.
But
He's
then the
doing
baby
like
carriage. The baby
he's
carriage.
doing bits.
He's doing bits. He's doing bits.
Stupid bad bits. Like the Joker. That's
Right.
the last time I'll say the Joker, by the way.
Hey,
but.
you can keep saying it. It's okay. But okay, so I feel like we're all over the place with this episode, and I apologize since it's my week and I should do a better job at leading here. But he wants to be left alone. Okay, going back to the beginning, he
Yes.
wants to be left alone so he can work on his experiment.
Mm-hmm.
However, he hasn't paid the bill. And so that's not
Yeah.
fair to the Halls. Like, don't take advantage. And he says politely to Mr. Hall, like, money's coming today. I will pay you.
Yeah.
If they left him alone, do you think he would have went mad? Or do you think it would have just taken some time?
I think that he's in the process of losing his mind because he says an injection under the skin for a month will turn you invisible.
Right.
And so he's been dosing for a month. Then I can't remember what Flora says. Flora says it's been a month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we're talking, like a few months of time that he's using this drug. I think that he's losing his mind. And Flora says he wasn't like himself. He was very excitable, and I think she says like strung up. She doesn't say strung out. Yeah. Flora says he was excited and strung up before he left. So I think he's already losing his mind, and he can't find a cure, and so that's causing him to
And also
get
just to
more and more and
be
more.
agitated. This is kind
Yeah.
of the catalyst to, fine, guess what? Here we go. I'm going off
Yeah.
on my rampage.
Yeah.
Catch me if you can, you know?
Yeah. But yeah. Like I think that, I guess if they had like completely left him alone, he may have just, I don't know, withered away and died or something. But definitely them pushing him and him saying like, "Oh, I lost a whole day's of work because of that woman."
But also, if you were traveling and you want to be left alone and you're going to seek an inn with a private room, aren't you coming prepared with money?
I mean, he maybe, that's what I'm saying. Like the timeline of getting to that day, I'm wondering how long it actually was,
Hmm.
because it's not like he's like a super super rich guy.
Right.
Like Kemp looks like he lives in like a castle, basically.
Yeah.
Jack, I kind of got the feeling that maybe he didn't have that much. Because again, why wouldn't you just stay in your own place? Like, why are you bringing all of these other problems into the scenario?
And he didn't have his own space, it seems.
No, he does, because
But
that's where
don't
they
they
go to, and all
find
the.
Oh, that wasn't in Cranley's house?
I don't believe so.
I
No.
always, I took it as like he was working on his experiments in Cranley's space and they find like the burned they find the burned piece of paper where he wrote everything down. I always thought that wasn't Griffin's space, because why wouldn't he just stay in his space?
Right. Why wouldn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you took that as it was his space. I took it as it was Cranley's space.
Yeah. I mean, he's got to live somewhere.
Well, sure. I just thought he
Yeah.
had like he has all his like what he needs to for his chemistry, but he didn't have like the space to do it. Interesting.
Yeah.
Now I have more questions.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like I have a lot of questions about this, but none of it really bothers me. Like the super
Right.
strength thing, it's kind
Right.
of whatever.
Right.
Maybe he was just very I don't know, strung up.
So he's out and about.
Mm-hmm.
He threatens Kemp, I'm going to kill you at 10 p.m. And I'm serious for realsies.
What a threat.
So the townspeople get together, thousands of men rally.
Mm-hmm.
How does one go about catching an invisible man? Right? They form like netting to go across a room, which is just poorly executed, because what about the sides of the room?
Yep.
I mean, this guy, he can be anywhere listening in, but again, this is the first time they're dealing with this type of case.
Yep.
So how do you do it? You know?
Yeah, I mean, you can't do it without making a mess pretty much everywhere that you go.
Yeah.
At one point, they're talking in a room and like, we can't give too many details of our plan because he might be in this room right now.
Mm-hmm. So they
So, I mean,
recognize it.
I would say, bag of flour, carry that with you everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Throw it around the room. Again, you're going to make a huge mess.
I mean, they kind of try to do that when they're outside and the cat, about an
Oh,
hour
how'd
and
you
2
feel about
minutes
that cat?
in, unexpected cat is seen.
Yep.
This beautiful white cat, and then gets sprayed with paint. I didn't love that.
I felt bad for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did not love
Rewatching
that.
it, I was like, ooh, Michelle is
That's
not
like
going to like that.
my one
Yeah.
issue with that. But so they kind of try to do that, but they don't even look up to see what they're spraying. Like if you would have looked up, dude, you would have saw the
Yeah.
cat.
And then I guess, what you could do is everyone wears like a hula hoop around themselves, like a big hoop.
Oh, okay.
So
Interesting.
everyone runs around the room quickly, see if you knock into anything.
But I do like the fact that, like, this is such an urgency, and so there's not really a lot of time to think about how to deal with this.
Right.
And so I like that because you see how chaotic it is. And also, the sheriff doesn't really even take Kemp seriously. He's like, "Don't worry about it. We'll get you. You'll live. We're not too worried
It's so
about
funny
this."
when Kemp calls him and he's like, "He's here, he's here." He's like, "Well, I've only got 5 men here, and I really wanted to get like 100 guys. All right, let me see if I can find somebody." And then they do, and it's after midnight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody, quick,
Yeah.
form a human net.
Yeah.
It is chaos, and like he has the element of surprise, but again, like he's in such a precarious situation that he really should have just like cut his losses and run, like
Kemp?
leave this town. No, Griffin,
Oh,
like disappear. That's your one power is
no way.
disappearing.
No way.
Go find, move to America or something. Like they're on to you, basically. You need to leave. And he doesn't like leave.
But that's a sane person thinking. He's
Yeah,
lost
that's
it.
true.
So
That's
he's like,
true.
"No, let me I'm going to derail a train. I'm just going to kill those guys off a cliff. Also, Kemp, you wronged me. I said I would kill you at 10. I need to kill you."
And then he does.
And then he does.
It's
and
insane.
laughs about it and tells him how he's going to do it.
Yes. Ew,
Sick.
yeah.
It is sick.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
But again, like I feel like no one else in the movie like fully matches his sickness, like
No.
because it's all intercut. Now, again, James Whale, right? The great James Whale, I think we can say.
Yep.
He's doing such a good job of mixing the stuff with Jack with humor.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got Una O'Connor. At first, I was like, "Oh, she's not really utilized as well in this movie," but every time she just bursts out screaming, I was like, "That's actually really, really funny."
She's a hysterical queen.
Yeah.
She just her husband who fell down the stairs is just trying to like gather himself, and she's just like, "Ah! Ah!" like grabbing his, and it's just so delicious.
Mm-hmm. It's really awesome. When he throws her out of the room first, she drops the tray. She's just like, "Ah!"
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's balancing the really like dark part of this movie with humor. And recently there was a remake of Invisible Man
with Elizabeth Moss, right?
Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah.
And there's like almost no humor in that movie. I started that movie and had to turn it off and did not finish it for over a year. It was so stressful and scary.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I didn't know was that I basically made it through like the majority of the stress and scary parts. And so when I picked it back up, I was like, "Oh, actually, I probably would have been fine after this." But I say that to say, like, there is a version of this story that is all crazy and dark and sick, and it's not the version that James ended up telling. And I think it's better for it. Like, I truly, it's funny. Like when the one guy's calling the police and he's like, "Hey, why don't you just wait till it's cold out and then you'll see his breath?" And they're like, "Okay." And it's kind of smart because he's kind of answering questions that you as the audience might be having as you're watching it. Like he's like, yeah, he's answering those things for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think about the final catch I mean, to me, it was the fact that this is the way he's caught. He just killed Kemp. He's tired. He finds a barn, falls asleep in hay. Ah, this looks nice.
Mm-hmm.
And the farmer catches him in the hay, hears him snoring, and they essentially smoke him out. And so they can see, and it just snowed. And so then they can catch his footprints and shoot him. I mean, this was a happy accident.
This is all great. The actor who's playing this old farmer is great. The way he like sneaks out of the barn is very funny. And then when they're like, "Hey, you'll have 1,000 pounds coming to you," and he just kind of does this quick. It's not quite like a salute. It's just like a oh.
And he kind of like tips his hat a little bit.
It's half a second. It's great shot. And the just so willing to be like, yeah, burn my barn down. We gotta get this invisible man. Did you look into how they did the feet in the snow?
I did. I mean, I looked into all the special effects, and I still feel like I have like listened and read and consumed, and my mind is still blown about all of the things. Especially, I mean, the snow one makes sense of just digging a trench and putting a board down with the footholes indented, and then putting snow on top, and then releasing the pegs.
Yeah, moving the pegs.
Yeah.
In time.
Yeah.
With a person walking. So listeners, Michelle and I know what we're talking about, but so they did like a combination of like rock salt, and they had outlines or foot imprints, and so they had to have a whole bunch of people pulling out the pegs, and it would
create the indents.
Yeah, like the top layer wouldn't have the support, and so it would just fall in.
Right.
Making these perfect footprints. That is so cool and impressive, because when you watch it, it slightly looks like animated, and we know it's not computer animated, but I can see it maybe being like a hand drawn on top of the film type of thing. And when you know that it's not that, and then you rewatch it, and it's how many people all working together to pull out these pegs in the right amount of time. I mean, imagine if you got excited and nervous and you pulled out your thing too early.
Right.
And I wonder how many times they did that. Like, did they reset that? And the amount of work that would go into just that one shot. It's not like the most flashy of effects in the movie. I mean, obviously him taking off the bandages, that's probably the most laborious, and they had to reshoot it and drape everything in black velvet so there was no
use
reflection.
mats.
Yeah. That's all crazy. But the post-production on this wasn't that long.
It was 2 months. 2 months.
2 months.
Okay, what blows my mind about the effects, and going back to just the use of matte printing, is the fact that scenes had to be touched up frame by frame with a brush and opaque paint.
Yeah.
Approximately 63,000 frames were touched. Yeah. I mean, essentially, they're like making like an animated film.
Yeah, and in 2 months.
That's insane.
Yes, and they only filmed for 2 months.
That's right. And they finished the script, I think it was in June, in like a month before, and then started shooting in June of 1933 and finished in August.
Like, imagine making this in 2 months.
Right. I mean, right. And practical effects.
Right. It's not, I mean, yeah, sure, you only have like a few locations, but still. And again, yeah, sure, it's only 72 minutes, but
no.
That's like the most amazing, like, what I did with my summer vacation story ever.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite effect scene?
Well, once I found out how they did the footprints, I think that kind of became my favorite.
Yeah.
I love the bike.
Oh, I love the bike.
The bike shot is great so they did that with an overhead crane.
Yep.
But where the camera is positioned, we can see the sky. And so I just automatically assumed like, oh, they have a rope pulling it from the front. And so I'm like looking for that, and then it's not even that. It's coming from way, way high up above. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think anytime he's undressing in front of the mirror and unwrapping, I love obviously the white shirt, the first reveal,
Yeah.
and also him sitting in the chair in the striped pajamas
Yeah.
and with his like legs crossed. And when he like goes to bed, also just like these little, I mean, it's not in effects, but it adds to it what he adds of like he adds a yawn or just that's nice. I just love it so much. I love
What
it
I
so
like
much.
about it is that, again, like apart from the Invisible Man effect, all of the effects are very like subtle and understated, and it makes you really pay attention
Mm-hmm.
to what's on screen because you don't necessarily know where he is
Mm-hmm.
in the frame. And like just something as simple as him getting into the bed and the indent of his head on the pillow. I think, for me, like I'm looking at it to see how realistic it looks. I'm looking at it to see what's happening, where he is. It really like grabs your attention. And I can't imagine watching this in 1933.
Well, I think my head would explode.
Yeah.
My head's exploding in 2024.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can only imagine watching this when it came out.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, going back to them capturing him and finally just shooting him, because that's I think the silliest part of this movie is that everyone like he's literally choking a person
Mm-hmm.
and they don't just like reach out and grab him. Like
yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's like it's as if the invisibility just renders everyone so scared and useless. So if you see the footprints, why aren't just rush in and grab him? Like you can see.
I
You
know.
can
I
see.
wondered that too. And I'm like, what does it feel like? Do you feel an
Ooh,
actual.
ew! Imagine if
Uh,
it feels goopy.
oh my God, you and goo. You're obsessed with goo, dude. Obsessed with
Well,
goo
what
and
else
goo.
would it feel like? Furry?
No, just like how I would feel like if you were to
Yeah.
grab me, a human.
Right.
Because if you can feel the hand, I don't know, if you're being choked by an invisible person, is it
Right.
an invisible feeling around your neck or are you feeling hands?
Wow, an invisible feeling around your neck.
Like you can't describe it, but it's your throat is closing in,
Right.
the pressure of it.
Right.
But also, I mean, to shoot, you have the footprints. I mean, what if, I guess you just aim and it gets stuck? And then,
Well, right. Yeah, they don't even rush him. They shoot at him, so they're a good
right.
marksman. Yeah.
And then I'm
Yeah.
like, how did they grab him? He falls. Did they, I guess they go over and try to lift him? That would have been cool to see. Or do we wrap a blanket around him?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. So I would hate to be the Invisible Man
Yes.
because, like, to be naked
Oh my
at all
gosh.
times.
Right.
I'm not a big clothes wearer to begin with, but like to just be like out in public.
Yeah. Your schlong's just about. What it is.
Just about.
Well, I mean, just going from side to side.
Well, yeah, you're just walking. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know that I would find it freeing.
I don't
You
think
know
he
what I
finds it
mean?
freeing. Are you just saying in general, or are you saying does he
Well, just like
find
for
it
me,
freeing?
like, no,
No.
I don't think that he necessarily finds it freeing either. I'm just saying, like, okay, so I'm invisible now, and there's no
Yep.
cure.
Yep.
Okay, all right. I'm walking around like this. I think all the time. Like, I think I'm.
You've committed.
Yeah, I don't think I could go out invisible. I think I'd have to go out clothed.
I agree.
And
I
to
would always
not freak people out, I'd have to wear the head
right.
stuff.
I agree. I feel like I would always have this fear that I would become visible at a really
Oh my god.
misopportune time.
Yeah.
And it would like slowly fade. And then you're just, I mean, imagine if you're like in Target and you're just standing
Right.
and all of a sudden the aisle, you become visible.
Well, right. Well, I mean, if you're naked, it's going to always be an inopportune time. Yeah.
Well, sure. But like if it happened in my house, that's one thing versus being out in public.
Oh, yeah.
Or if you snuck into like a music venue or something.
Yeah.
I guess if you were invisible, you could go and see things.
But yeah, I think that would be like the worst. I think that would be like the worst part of it, because you can't just like put on a t-shirt and shorts and shoes and like go to the store and like be like freaking people out picking up a carrot, like that you're gonna
Yeah.
buy.
Right.
Yeah, so you'd be like, I don't know, that's just me. But you should send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know if you would find being naked in public and not seen either freeing or limiting. I'm in the limiting camp.
I'm in the limiting camp. Also, I'm just always cold. So
Well, that also, yeah. I mean, you're moving at this point, like you're moving to Arizona.
that's true. But then,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, I wonder if there's no relief at that point, right? Because you feel hot. And so do you create like prints when you sit and sweat? But then clothes is too much.
are
I
you
think
getting
we need,
sunburned?
are you getting sunburned?
Are you getting sunburned as the Invisible Man?
If you feel extreme cold, then you must feel extreme heat and sweat.
Right. Well, it's not the heat that sunburns you.
No, I know, but now I'm thinking about all the elements that could affect one's body.
I was about to start explaining how you get sunburned, and I was like, I actually don't know how that works. The sun touches your body, and
Your
you turn
skin.
red. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's more to that.
Yeah.
But,
Interesting.
and then if you
But
were to wear
anyway, yeah.
sunscreen, you're just a sunscreen outline.
Right. Yeah, this sounds horrible.
No, I mean,
I would
I
not
don't,
want to
I
be
don't,
the Invisible Man. Yeah. No,
no,
not in any way.
no.
I did like in this movie when they're talking about monocaine, Dr. Cranley is like, oh yeah, I read about it in this German book. Oh my God, Jack probably read the English version, which came out earlier. He probably doesn't know about the crazy part. He just knows about the bleaching part. And I'm like, all right, if I'm trying to turn invisible, you're basically just using like a bleaching agent.
That
Like,
bleached a dog, right?
right. But like, would you ever think? I don't know.
I
I
wouldn't.
didn't like that they were like, oh, monocaine bleaches, and that's the connection that he used it, because that's you're not trying to turn white, you're trying to turn invisible.
Yeah, but mixed with other things, I guess. And
I
he's a
guess.
scientist, so he's like, how can I mix these chemicals?
Yeah.
I realized I have a thing for the mad scientist, is what I realized.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I like went through it and I was like, oh, all my favorite characters seem to be mad scientists.
Yeah, the dude, Back to the Future.
Doc Brown,
Yep.
Dr. Pretorius,
Dr.
this one,
Pretorius, this
even
guy.
even Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, oh
Interesting.
yeah, I love the mad scientist.
So early on in the movie, it's either Kemp or Cranley say he meddled in things that men should leave alone. And then one of the last thing Jack says before he dies is, I meddled in things that man must leave alone.
I mean, this is so similar to Frankenstein.
Exactly.
It's
And
the
I'm wondering,
same
like, James
theme.
Whale, what are you saying to us? Like, what are you telling us?
Well, I mean, isn't it a similar story of like the mad scientist and then the guy who's in love with the scientist's fiance? What was his name in Frankenstein? I'm forgetting his name.
Oh, yeah.
It was like
I know.
obsessed
I
with
can't
her.
remember his name. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like the
He's like,
same story.
I leave Elizabeth to your care.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and even Creature from the Black Lagoon is like,
Yep.
stop,
Right.
leave nature alone. The Mummy kind of goes in that direction, and so it's like the message of these movies is kind of like, I don't know, don't try to do anything ever.
Well, don't try to control. I guess like too much having too much power and too much control is not a good thing, even if it seems like
Right.
it is.
Right. Yeah. Don't play God, I suppose.
Don't play
is the
God.
idea.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Don't play God. Mm-hmm.
So big carriage in the moon's afraid of me afraid to death. And yeah, I mean, Jack, when he's speaking with Flora, he's like, even the moon's afraid of me, frightened to death. the whole world frightened to death. And it's like, why do you want that? Who would want that? Most people want the whole world to love them.
Yeah, but it goes back to power of control.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want it. I'm just saying, I get what he's getting at.
Yeah. Well, it's the age-old Michael Scott question. Would you rather be feared or loved?
Mm-hmm.
I want people to be afraid of how much they love me. All right. I think that's about it. I just had a note in here, nudity. That's it. It just said
Just nudity. So much nudity.
Yeah.
So the budget for this movie was $328,000.
Okay.
But there's an unknown number of what it made at the box office.
Yeah.
So I read that in different regions it did well, and overall it was successful, but there's no like finite number.
Yeah.
It has a 95% rating on Rotten Tomatoes,
Okay.
3.9 on Letterboxd, 87 on Metacritic. Production days, like we talked about, June 1933 through August, and then 2 months after for special effects.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Great economical shoot, man. I mean,
I know. It only took so
Michelle
long
and
to
I-
make, so, you know.
Yeah. We're always talking about practical effects. Come on.
Come on.
Stop
Right.
with the nerds of the computers.
That's right.
Get 100 people to pull little pegs to make it look like footprints. That's all you need.
Get your paint out. Go back to film.
Yep.
Let's do it. Get Black Velvet. Old school green screen style, right?
That's right. This was included in the film registry.
Oh, yeah, it did.
I think it was 2008, right?
My bad. Thank you for, I don't have a number, but I actually did write that down. Yes, it is included. All right, let's go into our happies and crappies.
It's time for happies and crappies. Happies and crappies. It's time for
All right, cool.
happies
Do
and
you want to go
crappies.
first?
No, you go first. You're my guest for the evening.
Okay. All right. So my happy is Una O'Connor just screaming and making each scream so funny and talking about the mustard.
Oh, Millie
about
forgot
I'm not
the
carrying
mustard.
trays. I know. I'm not carrying trays back and forth all day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything. I love it. And I hate that she's only in the first part of the movie. I would have loved to see her, you know, just cheering on the police at the end. Like, get him. There he is. You know, if she came back, this would be a 10 out of 5 movie.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my happy. And then my crappy is, I feel like it's slightly unfair. Like, not quite Kemp, but like, Kemp is just such a fuddy-duddy, like, boring, like, Eep, help. He's here. Eep, eep, eep. Oh, sure, I'll help you, Invisible Man. Like, come on. Like, I don't know. So it's not so much that it's crappy about the movie. It's just he's my least favorite character, I guess.
Yeah, he falls flat.
Mm-hmm.
My happy is the reveal with the white button down.
Okay.
I love it because that really drew me in watching this for the first time. And my crappy is that cat getting sprayed with paint.
Yeah. That was my secondary crappy because
don't like
that cat died probably like an hour later.
I did some research on this and I couldn't find any answers on that.
Yeah. They probably shot that shot like 100 times with 100. They were like, find another cat.
Bring in all the white cats so we can spray them with paint. Yeah.
Yeah. Poor cat.
Poor cat. All right, let's go over to Twitter. How are our friends over there? Did they have anything to say about this movie?
They did. And speaking of cat,
yeah,
this is a different kind of cat. Our good friend Kat Chinetti, who was on our last episode, she says his sheer joy in being the worst is what makes him a monster, not just that he's invisible. I think it's brilliant and still looks great. Follow-up tweet. It is a little overlawn and business/plot heavy, but its unrepentant wickedness is great.
Yes. Well said, Kat.
Very well said. Felicia at Cinnamoroni,
Hey, friend.
she says, I live for all things Claude Rains, and very few people can command a screen without actually being on screen for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. Imagine this is your big Hollywood debut.
I know. Based off of your voice.
Yeah, and you're just not in it.
Right. That's kind of liberating in a way.
Yeah, that's true. Sean Shank at Tyler_Burnham says, it's Una O'Connor's world. We're just living in it.
Ah, yes, Sean.
Newman at Movies for Days. Newman, how are you?
How are you, Newman?
Newman says, total classic. That's all. Short and sweet. And Thomas George Gonitzer, and please forgive me if I'm not pronouncing that right, at Thomas Genitzer says, one of my favorite films of all time, also one of the most quotable films of all time. Do you have a favorite quote from the film?
Ooh.
And I do. There's so many great lines.
Mm-hmm.
I just love like that scene ramping up as he's like, fools.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. You want to see what I am? But when I already mentioned it earlier in the episode, when the police officer is downstairs and he says, if he gets the rest of them clothes off, we'll never catch him in 1,000 years. Because it's very silly.
And I love when Constable Jeffers goes, how can I handcuff a bloomin' shirt?
Yes. The police in this movie, I feel like, are portrayed very silly.
So
Very, very silly.
there's one, I don't know if I guess he's a cop. At one point, they all look so defeated, and he's just like, he's got to sleep. He's got to sleep at one point. He's
Yep.
so monotone delivering that line, Aunt and I cracked
Yep.
up. It's pretty great. Well, thanks, friends. Also, we started implementing our call out for Happies and Crappies. So send that over to us. If you listen to
Yes,
an
please.
episode and you watch the film with us, send us your Happies and Crappies. Have we gotten any? Are people giving it to us, Seth?
We did. Rashawn tweeted at us.
Great.
Skylar tweeted at us that he went back and listened to an episode where I guess I said I don't like Shakespeare.
Oh. Was that 10 Things I Hate About You? Which?
No,
he
said it was Dead Poets Society.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I kind of stand by that. I'm like,
All right. Well,
talk normal, Shakespeare.
Yeah, make it easier for us to understand.
Yeah, stop being a freak.
Jeez, get it together.
Yeah.
Let's go over to a segment of the show where we hear from people we don't know. It's called Half Star, 3-Star, 5-Star. So these are reviews from letterboxd.com. We start with a half-star review, which is the lowest rating you can give a movie, and we go all the way up to a 5-star review, which is the highest rating you can give a movie. We're going to start with a half-star review. Seth, take it away. I cannot wait to hear it.
You know what's funny is I've been saying so many things this week in a Invisible Man voice, but also confusing it with Mark Hamill's Joker voice.
Ooh.
And now that I'm here and I have to do this, I'm like, oh my God, wait, what does he sound like? Can you do an Invisible Man voice?
No, I don't think so. I haven't practiced or tried yet. I feel like I've been trying to emulate the laugh that he does. Also, I have to practice because, spoiler alert, I'm going to be the Invisible Man for Halloween. I'm so inspired by this movie. So it just like totally overhauled me being a pickle. And then at one point I was like, I'm going to be a pickle who's the Invisible Man. But
that's layers deep. Yeah.
Very layered.
Yeah. It's like, fools.
Yeah. Power behind it.
Yeah.
But I need the laugh. I need the maniacal laugh. So it's just like, yeah.
Never seen the movie. Seems boring. Watched the trailer. Can't even see the main character. There was no hype for this movie. I'm watching another movie. I'm watching another movie during 1933. It could have been a good year for cinema in 1933 if this movie was actually decent. I don't understand that review at all.
This review, first off, there's only 8 reviews and only 8 half-star reviews. Okay.
Mhm.
This one is so ridiculous to me. There's no punctuation.
Never seen the movie.
They
Seems
only
boring.
watched the trailer.
Watched the trailer. Can't even see the main character. There was no hype for this movie. I'm watching another movie during 1933. It could have been a good year for cinema in 1933 if this movie was actually decent.
Like what? What are you
Yeah,
talking about?
Wowie zowie.
Also, the other review that I sent you as a joke was I thought John Cena was going to be in this movie. Now, I don't get that joke. So, what is that?
Oh, John Cena's whole thing is you can't see me.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is probably funny for those who know John Cena.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the 3-star review.
Well, before we move on.
Oh, okay. Yes,
I
Seth.
just want to say,
Sure.
I just want to say to everyone out there, it's good to hear criticism from people.
Yeah.
But take this review, print it out, put it at your desk, and just remember, folks, anyone can say anything about anyone. It doesn't mean anything.
I mean, do you think you should write a review for a film if you only watch the trailer?
Absolutely not. No. I don't think you should
No.
write a review for a movie if you didn't finish it.
Oh,
I don't think
I
you should
agree.
even say, I didn't finish this because I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Nope. Don't
Yeah.
tell me. I don't want to know. I
Yeah.
literally don't want to know.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't rate it. If you want to leave a comment or whatever, okay. But to rate this movie based on a trailer, you know, as they say, go touch grass.
Okay. Are you ready for the 3-star review?
Yes.
Okay. The effects were really good, especially for the 30s, I think. They did a really good job with the characterization of the Invisible Man because I actually effing hated him. I found him aggravating and arrogant and thoroughly annoying, and I really liked that. It's been a really long time since I found a villain, which is what he is. That guy killed over 100 people. Truly despicable.
Okay.
3 stars.
Yes.
Okay. 5-star review. Amazing. Like literally so good. Perfect for what it is. The concept is well executed and the effects still look seamless. The pacing is fantastic. There are no filler scenes. And like many of these Universal films, it is only 70 minutes. The Invisible Man himself is so fun. He's just a little crazy anarchist guy. Surprisingly brutal and violent at points too. He's probably the most powerful of the Universal villains. I mean, how are you going to catch him unless it is snowing? You literally can't. Everything about this rules. I think I love James Whale a lot. 5 stars.
Wow.
I mean,
Very good.
that's pretty much how I feel. I wish I could just like copy, and I love everything he said. He is just a crazy little anarchist guy. And he's super evil.
I was wondering as you were reading that, I was like, wait, is this
Michelle's review?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking
Was
of
it?
which, we rate a movie as a schmovie movie or film, and we give it a rating 1 through 5 stars, give our final thoughts, recommendations. The question of all questions, should I go first? Do you want to go first?
Well, this is your movie, so I think you should go first.
Okay. I'll go first.
So I said at the beginning that I've been going quite conservative with my guesses, and I wasn't going to do that this time.
Mm-hmm.
And after this conversation, I'm very glad that I went that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing that you are putting this down as a 5-star film.
I feel so seen. You are correct, Seth. This is a 5-star film for me.
Wowee.
I almost see.
Wow.
Okay, picture 5 stars, but then on the 5th star, one of the little legs is not fully full because of the cat.
Yeah.
But
Got it.
besides that, like to me, this is like full 5 stars. What do you call it? What do you call
There's just
the?
the leg of a star.
Is that what it's called?
I mean,
Arms?
2 are the legs, 2 are the arms, 1 is the head.
Because it's like a starfish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you ever do that with like if Jean Marie is traveling or if you're in a bed by yourself? Do you starfish in the middle of it?
Of course. Yeah.
Oh my
You
God.
spread out as big as you can.
Ah, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, this is a 5-star film for me.
Wow.
I loved this
Amazing.
so much. I enjoyed all the effects. I love how evil he is and how truly this is really a scary movie when you really think about it. But because it's not shown, we don't see the scary, it makes it more easily digestible, I think.
Got it.
And I'm definitely recommending this. In fact, I can't shut up about it. So sorry
Nice.
for people in my vicinity.
Very cool.
Okay, for you, I wrote down 4-star movie.
Wow. Very close. Very close. I had rated this 3.5 stars when I watched it originally, and that was a little bit low. I was a little down on these Universal movies. I'm not sure why. Like, I just wasn't like fully enamored with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm bumping that up to 4 stars. I would say this is a 4-star film.
Nice.
And I do recommend it, but I almost recommend this in the context of the other Universal movies.
Explain that.
Meaning, like, I wouldn't necessarily say just watch this on its own.
Oh,
You definitely can.
sure.
You absolutely can. But I feel like I enjoy this so much more in thinking about all of them together.
Yeah, like out of all
Yeah.
of the ones we've watched, this one's my favorite so far.
Yeah.
And
This one is my favorite. Yeah.
And I want to continue and watch the other ones, but I have a feeling this one will probably just remain my favorite.
Yeah. Well, Claude Rains in that voice, man, it's doing a lot of work.
This whole movie is just it's
Dracula rules. Like the
yeah.
the 1931 Dracula is pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as I've said many times, I do not like the Wolfman.
Yeah, you've said that a couple of times. Taken note.
Not into it. Yeah.
I just can't believe that this was my pick for the month and it turned out to be a 5-star that I love. Like, isn't that wild that I've never seen it?
Very good pick. Yeah, yeah. This was so earlier when we recorded last week on Creature from the Black Lagoon. You had asked me. You said, "Why is this your pick? Is it just because Kat wanted to do it?" And I said to you, "I was like, well, I had two that I would have gone between. Invisible Man was my other one."
Nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I'm glad. I was very glad that you were like, "Oh, I'm going to do that one." I was like, "Yes."
Thank you, Una.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, we should all stop and just thank Una for the indelible mark that she left on film history. Mm-hmm. Indelible? Is that the right word?
Don't ask me. I don't know words. Sure, let's make it a word. I used to play Scrabble with my friend and just make up words, and he was bad with words, and we just like, that sounds right.
Sure. Why not? Yeah. Hey, if we sound right, we'd love it if you give us a rating and a review wherever you're listening. Hey, listening on Apple, give us 5 stars. Listening on Spotify, do whatever it is over there. I don't know if it's stars or not. We'd also love it if you send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your happies and crappies. Let us know what your favorite Universal monster is. Also, you can support the show, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. We've got a lot of additional episodes up there. The first 2 episodes of the new Tarantino series that I'm doing is out now, going through his entire filmography, one movie at a time, starting out with a movie that no one's ever heard or seen, My Best Friend's Birthday. That's out now. We've also got our Studio Ghibli series, Ghibli Gabs. We've also got the full first season and only season of Freaks and Geeks, episode by episode. If you are listening to this and you're like, hey, I like Seth and Michelle, you need to listen to the Freaks and Geeks Weirdcast podcast that we did. It's like the story of Michelle and I, basically.
Yeah,
but also
it goes
Freaks
deep.
and Geeks.
Goes deep.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You also get access to our Patreon-only Discord, and you get to vote on upcoming films once a month, and every 3 months, the patrons pick the theme for the entire month, which is kind of crazy, but fun. And hey, like I said, it's $5 a month. You know, just I don't know. Next time you eat lunch, don't get a can of soda. Boom, that's $5 right there.
Can of soda's $5.
I think so. I don't know.
Anyway,
Gotta be close to it, right?
we'd appreciate
Soda's bad for you. Stop drinking soda and start
drinking movie
supporting
friends.
us on Patreon. Yeah, yours is better.
Yeah, there you go. I can't take your face anymore. I'm like, you just look like you have this grimace. And it's just like, I can't. Oh my gosh. I never thought I'd want green Seth back.
Wow. Well, next
week. I
week,
love
you're
this
gonna
effort. But okay, yes.
Yes.
What are we doing next week? Oh my gosh. What are we doing?
Next week, you're going to be getting a totally different Seth. So there's a lot of different submissions for the last movie of this month. We're going to be going kind of in a different way. It's a movie that we've talked about doing before. It's a movie that is very well known and very highly regarded.
I think I know what
So
it is.
for the last movie of October, we're going to be talking about Steven Spielberg's Jaws.
Wow.
So different type of monster. Now, listeners, when Michelle and I were planning the last live show, we were bandying about a bunch of different options for a movie to talk about. And for some reason, one that was in the serious running for a while was Jaws.
I know. I feel like it was between Jaws and Space Jam, which is crazy.
Jaws and The Shining were two
which is
that we
funny.
really thought about doing.
That I never took The Shining seriously because I've never seen that movie. So I don't know why I would want to do that. I've never seen The Shining.
I don't know. And then we pivoted and said, you know what, let's do a funny.
Yeah. How do we make Jaws funny? I'm assuming The Shining is not funny. So.
Well, I mean, it depends on if you like, well, yeah.
Oh, I've been in the vicinity of The Shining playing, but I never really paid attention to it. Anyway.
So.
Jaws. Wow.
Next week, Jaws, 1975, directed by Steven Spielberg, 124 minutes.
Guess what, Seth?
Huh?
I've been on the ride.
Oh my! Well, I'm sure we'll talk about it.
You bet you we will. I'll show you pictures.
And this is currently streaming on Netflix.
Sweet.
Yeah. So here we go.
Wow, it feels kind of weird to leave this world. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, we're jumping ahead a few decades, and again, we're kind of going into a different type of monster. But I think it's time. Jaws is a big one. It's a big movie for movie people. It's a big movie just for the world.
Yeah.
And so.
And it's your favorite, Spielberg. You love him so much.
Spielberg will be joining our Three Timers Club.
That's right.
Along with Una O'Connor.
That's right.
And James Whale. Boom.
Wow. Until next week, Jaws. Thank you, Seth.
Thanks, Michelle.
Hey, friends. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Music by Anthony Pecora. If you like the show, please subscribe and give us a rating. It really helps us find new friends. Thanks.